I read 8 books in the month of September, but only 2 of them stood out to me. So let's talk about the books that I loved, the books that I hated, and what it is that I plan on reading in the month of October. Hi friend, welcome and welcome back to my channel. I'm Clarissa C, or simply Clarissa, and today we got a wrap up. A September wrap up and October hopefuls. I call them hopefuls because I am definitely a mood reader, so I don't usually stick too closely to a TBR. So I hope to read these books in the month of October. So yeah, let's get into it. So the first book that I read in the month of September was The Love Syllabus by Lacey, and I rated this 4 stars. I actually really enjoyed it. I was surprised that I enjoyed it because I didn't think that it was going to touch on certain things. I thought it was just going to be really short, fluffy, like simple read, I guess you could say. But it got kind of deep and I enjoyed it. It was about, actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to read what it was about. I'm going to read the book description. So, Carrie Kine never expected to start over in her 30s, but after a difficult divorce, she needs a fresh start. When she finally lands a homeschool teaching position, she's relieved until she realizes her new boss is the man she clashed with days ago. Victor Grimes, a world-renowned chef and widow, isn't interested in disrupting his carefully structured life. But his daughters need a change, and Carrie just might be the perfect fit. Forced to navigate their undeniable chemistry and reluctant partnership, one impulsive fake dating scheme blurs the lines between professional and personal, making their attraction impossible to ignore. As past wounds resurface and their worlds collide, Carrie and Victor must decide if love is worth rewriting the rules or if some lessons are best left untaught. The Love Syllabus is a heartfelt, small-town black romance featuring fake dating, a cozy small backdrop, all wrapped in a tender love story between a former teacher turned nanny and guarded single father. This fun but emotional read is perfect for readers who enjoy emotionally rich, slow burn romance that gives you all the feels. So it definitely was a slow burn, and normally I'm not too keen on slow burns, but I really enjoyed this. Like I said, I rated it 4 stars. I would definitely highly recommend it, especially for people who love the single dad trope, which I am learning that is a thing. I didn't know that was a thing, but it was cool to see him have to, especially because he was widowed, how he had to wrestle with his emotions on whether or not he should open up to this woman or not. So yeah, that was the first book. The second book I read was a little novella. It was called This Might Be Real, R-E-E-L, a fake relationship novella. I rated it 3 stars, but I don't think I really enjoyed it as much as I think I enjoyed it, because when I was going to talk about this, I realized that it was pretty forgettable for me. I don't think that it was badly written, though. I can recall that it wasn't badly written, because if something, I don't enjoy the writing style, I will, as of late, I will DNF it, because I'm like, life is too short to read bad books. But basically it's a fake dating trope, and I don't know if I'm really into that, but I did at the time that I read it, I enjoyed it. So I'll put it up on the screen. You can look at the book description yourself if that's something that you're into. Then the third book I read was called Everybody Ain't Your Friend by Tanisha Stewart, and I rated this 3 stars. And I think I enjoyed it more while I was reading it. It's actually an urban thriller, which was the first time I've ever read one of those. I didn't even know urban thriller was a genre. I just know of thriller, psychological thriller, political thriller. I don't know. Anyway, I read it simply because of the title. Because, I mean, growing up, my mother used to tell me all the time, girl, everybody ain't your friend. And it's funny because I didn't call everybody my friend, but it was more so around her saying everybody ain't your friend, letting me know that certain people weren't my friends that I thought were my friends, if that makes sense. Anyhow, this one was, I'll give you the book description. They say you should keep your friends close and enemies closer, but sometimes reality might be the other way around. Mia thinks her life is completely normal. She has a loving boyfriend, great and supportive friends, and a close relationship with her mother. Things take an interesting turn, however, when she is almost run down by a car one day. Then come the Then come the messages from an untraceable number, not to mention the heartbreaking secret that is revealed shortly thereafter. Suddenly, everything that Mia thought was right in her life goes wrong. She has no idea why, but she needs to find out before her secret stalker decides her time is up. If I'm not mistaken, this also has like a accidental pregnancy in it or something like that, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I think this one had like an accidental pregnancy. Yeah, and that was like a whole thing within itself. I'm not going to say anything about the pregnancy because I don't want to spoil anything if this is really what you want to read. I said it, I rated it 3 stars. I think I only rated it 3 stars on Goodreads, but I think it might have been like a 3.5 stars for me. I did enjoy it, and I do remember it as I'm talking about it more. I remember reading it like, I was actually thoroughly surprised by the ending. I was completely thrilled. Okay? And the 4th book that I read was The Widow's Husband's Secret Lie by Frieda McFadden, which was actually a satirical thriller or something like that. What is it? A satirical novella. It is a thriller. It's a psychological thriller. There were just so many questions. It was my first Frieda McFadden book. I think I rated it like 3 stars. We read it as I just joined a book club. We just started a book club, and it was our first book to kind of get our, feet wet with a shorter book because we have demanding schedules. And I think that I will read other Frieda McFadden books. I thought the book was funny, given the satire, and I had never read any of her books. However, I had so many questions at the end of it. But I rated it 3 stars. The book description says, my husband is dead. I attended his funeral. I watched his casket be lowered 6 feet into the ground. Actually, it may have only been 5 feet, but that still seems like more than enough. And then we ate an array of finger sandwiches and deviled eggs and miniature beef Wellingtons that cost more than my first car. My point is, Grant is gone, and so are all his many, many deep, dark secrets, which I never really even bothered to ask him about. He is never coming back. So why do I see his face everywhere I go? The Widow's Husband's Secret Lie is an utterly addictive, unput-downable, nail-biting, absolutely gripping psychological thriller novella with a shocking, breathtaking, heart-stopping, spine-chilling twist that you won't see coming, will leave you stunned, and will literally have you picking your jaw up off the floor and bringing it to the nearest hospital for your major facial reconstructive surgery. Do you know that last part that I just read is 1 sentence? That's insane. Oh my goodness. But yeah, that's what the book is about. I rated it 3 stars. I will still read this author's writing going forward, considering it was my first time reading her and everybody rants and raves about her thrillers. And I believe that we are upon thriller season. So the next book I read was Whispers of the Lake by Shanora Williams, and I love this. 5 stars. Absolutely 5 stars. Would recommend everyone read it. I was, from the beginning to the end, it gripped me. Like, there was I didn't have, if I'm not mistaken, no, actually, I think there were some, no, that was a different book. This book was interesting from the beginning to the end. I love Shanora Williams' writing. I will read, at this point, anything by her. I literally just started a fantasy because I like her writing so much. But I rated it 5 stars, and I think I read this book in like 2 days. And it's a marriage on the rocks, a missing friend, and a tangle of shocking lies, coverage at peaceful North Carolina lakefront cottage, and this irresistibly twisty new psychological thriller from New York Times and USA Today's best-selling author, New York, Shanora Williams, perfect for readers of Liv Constantine. That's just too much. I'm not going to read all that. Basically, the main character, her name is, what is her name? Rose, I believe her name is. Yes. The main character, Rose, has an ex-best friend named Eve who goes missing, and she goes to look into her being missing because her sister, Eve's younger sister, calls her frantic about it. So she goes down a trail of trying to figure out what happened to Eve. At this point, I was giving the book so many different names of like alternative names, like being Eve and all the things. But the ending definitely came as a bit of a shocker, and I was happy about that because I could not have predicted what the ending was like. As I said, 5 stars. And it also gives you like some, like, give you kind of like literary feels, because like literary fiction, because it talks about like a lot of the real life situations that you deal with within friendships and marriage, and the nuances, the complications, how trauma shows up, and all the things. And she's dealing, the main character Rose is dealing with all of this while she's also trying to find her ex-best friend. So obviously she's she's no longer her best friend for a reason, but she's trying to put all of that aside to figure out what happens to her. And it was just a very wonderful read. I would have loved to see it become a movie, or even like a mini series adaptation on like Hulu or Peacock or something. So yeah, that was really good. Highly recommend everybody read it. And then I read We Don't Talk About Carol. I've been waiting to read this forever. I bought it and I don't know why, I just wasn't in the mood to read it, so I just didn't. So it was sitting in my Kindle library for so long. I am definitely going to get the physical copy because I really enjoyed this book. I rated it 4 stars, and it just gives you so much around the, it shows you how much what happens in this house stays in this house can be so harmful to your mental health, the familial health, like relationships, even how you go into other relationships with other people outside of your family. And I really enjoyed it. I don't know if in some ways I feel like the ending was a little too neat for me. However, I do understand the ending, so I'm not upset with it. So I really enjoyed it. I think everybody should read it. It was by a Black author. It is by Kristen L. Berry. And I think it took me about 4 days to read this. And I was just because life was happening. I think I probably would have finished it in like 2 days if other stuff wasn't taking precedence, like adulting. And then the last book I read was New Year, New D, A Soul Ties preview. So it is a prelude to the book Soul Ties by Miss Candice, and I enjoyed it. It was quick, it was short. I rated it 4 stars. I am going to go forward with reading the actual series. I had to see if I was actually going to want to read it, because I think that series, each book is like 500 pages, and sometimes 500 pages for a romance can be a lot. But that's all I read in the month of September. So out of all the books that I read in September, my top 2, We Don't Talk About Carol, which I rated 4 stars, and Whispers of the Lake by Shanora Williams, which I rated 5 stars. Those were my 2 top favorites. And it's funny because both of them were thrillers, and I primarily prefer to read romance. Although I do read across 4 genres: romance, thriller, historical fiction, and fantasy, I tend to lean heavily more into romance. But my top 2 for this month were thrillers, and I was quite surprised. But I am happy about it. I'm thrilled about it. No pun intended. Okay, so let's move into October. My October hopefuls, since we're technically in fall now. We're not in the middle, but we started fall, I think, what was it, 21st of September? It's October now. So yeah, my October hopefuls, we're in fall. You want to read kind of like cozier reads, happier reads, some thrillers, yes, but things that are going to keep your mood up, especially if you are someone who can tend to struggle with winter blues. So I am still going to read thrillers. I am still going to read romance. I don't know if I'm going to read any historical fiction or fantasy, but the hopefuls, the top 4 or 5 hopefuls that I have. Let's see. Okay, so these are my October hopefuls. The Illusion of Power by J.L. Seegers. I've never read anything by this author, but I've been hearing great things about this particular book. So I've had it on my TBR for a while. So basically my TBR just serves as like a placeholder. Doesn't mean I'm actually going to read them anytime soon, because like I said, I'm a mood reader. So who knows? I could put something on my TBR and not read it for 2 to 3 years later. I have to be in the mood for it. So, The Illusion of Power by J.L. Seegers. I'm also going to read The Problem with Falling by Brittany Cherry. I've never read anything by this author either. She is a Black author, and I've heard great things about her writing. J.L. Seegers is also a Black author. I'm going to read The Housemaid by Frieda McFadden because my book club told me that I need to read this book because we're going to go see The Housemaid in theaters when it comes out. And obviously I'm one of those people who always believes that the book is better. So if I think the book is better without actually, I don't want to see the movie before I read the book. So I'm not even going to watch the previews anymore. Like, if they add any previews other than the trailer that's originally out, I'm not going to read any until I finish this Frieda McFadden book. Until I finish it, yeah. They say that it's really good. They say that this will be the moment where I'm like, yeah, I get it. I get it. I get why people love Frieda McFadden. They say that this will help me. So we'll see. And the fourth book that I'm hoping to read in October is Soul Ties by Miss Candice. I think it's like 500 pages. So we'll see. And obviously I'll sprinkle in other things over the time, depending on if I have the time within October. And actually, right now, for my book club, I am currently reading The Perfect Marriage by Geneva Rose. I am thoroughly enjoying this book. Okay, I'm only like 30% of the way into it, but I am going to. We're not scheduled to be done with it until October. We're going to meet about it at the end of October, I should say. And I'm really enjoying it. I'm curious to see where it goes. One person in my book club apparently has already finished it, and then another one, she says she's like 70% of the way through, because the way that we're doing it, because of the type of, we're moms, we're wives, we have jobs, and this is all new to us. We're trying to figure out the best structure for us going forward. So right now it's kind of like like freely read as you can, but with it you have to finish within that month. So those are technically 5 books that I plan on reading in the month of October, or at least I hope to. And as I say, I will sprinkle in probably some romance novellas, or because I am actually reading Pumpkin Spice Cafe. Apparently people say that that's really good too, so I'm going to read that because it is pumpkin season. Tell me in the comment section what it is that you plan on reading in the month of October, what it is that you read in the month of September that surprised you or that you would recommend to me. And I hope that you have a great reading month. So thanks for chatting with me, friend. Thanks for listening to me rant about my books per usual. And if this is your vibe, please feel free to subscribe and join the tribe. Later.